You know, that moment,
Oh, yeah, we all do.
right? Like not the big dramatic kind. There's no courtroom, uh, no catastrophic public failure, no spotlight pointing directly at your
Just a
face.
totally ordinary Tuesday.
Exactly. It's just
Yeah.
a quiet split second. Maybe you're sitting in a meeting and someone asks a question and you actually know the
The
answer.
thought is right there.
Right. It forms perfectly in your mind, but suddenly your throat tightens, your palms go damp, your heart starts hammering against your ribs, and your mind just races with these frantic whispers like, what if I sound stupid?
What if I use the wrong word?
Yeah. Or what if they realize I don't actually belong in this room? So, you stay silent, you nod along, you let someone else speak, and inside, something just, something just shrinks.
It's a profoundly universal human experience. I mean, or maybe it happens later that night, when you're completely alone, lying in bed, just replaying a conversation from hours ago.
Oh, the 3 a.m. cringe. It's the worst.
It really is. You said something offhand, maybe trying to be funny or taking a tiny risk to share an opinion, but now you feel it. That hot flush creeping up the back of your neck.
Yeah, that hollow, heavy drop in the pit of your stomach.
Exactly, because in that moment you felt exposed. Saying what you truly felt, something vulnerable or uncertain, just felt far too dangerous. So you deflected, and now this heavy sensation coils around your ribs and it just keeps you awake.
Well, welcome to our deep dive. Today we are taking on a heavy hitter. We're talking about shame.
It's a big one.
It is. But we're not just going to sit here and talk about how uncomfortable it feels. We are going on a mission today to completely reframe our relationship with it.
Which is so desperately needed.
Truly, we're looking at shame through the lens of Gestalt therapy. So we're exploring a framework that views shame not as a personal failure and, not as an enemy you have to vanquish or conquer.
Yet as a deeply misunderstood protector.
Right. We're going to break down how simply noticing it, rather than just running from it, can radically alter how you move through the world.
And to really grasp this shift in perspective, we first have to separate shame from its very close cousin, which is guilt.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I feel like we use those words totally interchangeable.
All the time in everyday conversation, but psychologically and honestly physiologically, they are worlds apart.
How so?
Well, guilt says, I did something wrong, right? It's tied to an action. If you accidentally spill coffee on a coworker's desk, you feel guilt.
Sure, because I messed up their desk.
Exactly. You recognize you made a mistake, you apologize, you clean it up, and you move forward. Guilt allows for repair.
Okay.
But shame whispers, I am wrong.
Wow. I am wrong. That's heavy.
It is. It's an absolute indictment of your entire being.
That shift from I made a mistake to I am a mistake. I mean, that alters everything about how we operate.
Completely.
Like when you feel guilt, you lean in to fix the problem. But when you feel shame, the instinct is just to disappear.
Yes. In this Gestalt framework, they actually call it an existential vanishing.
Existential vanishing. That's a
Yeah.
powerful phrase.
It really captures the feeling. You might still be physically sitting in that meeting room. Your eyes are open, you might even be smiling, but you have retreated behind this massive, invisible curtain of self-judgment.
It's almost like an emotional invisibility cloak.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, like you sever your connection to the present moment because the present moment just feels entirely unsafe.
Right. One moment you are present, you're breathing, dynamically connected to the people around you, and the next, your energy has completely imploded. You've vanished from the field of contact.
And I imagine shame just thrives in that isolation.
Oh, absolutely. It feeds on secrecy and silence. It convinces you that you are an anomaly.
Like you're broken and everyone else is fine.
Exactly. It tells you that you are the absolute only one in that room who feels this way. It makes you think everyone else has it completely together, speaks with total confidence, and exists without any fear of rejection.
Which is, frankly, the biggest trick shame plays on us.
It really is an illusion.
Yeah, because if you actually look closely at the people around you, you see the universal human echoes of the exact same fear.
Everywhere. The hesitations, the nervous laughs.
The way someone immediately deflects a compliment.
Yes. Or the way people rigidly over-prepare for, like, a totally casual presentation.
Right. It is all just this shared, unspoken human chorus of, am I enough as I am?
Beautifully said.
But that existential vanishing thing, going back to that emotional invisibility cloak analogy, in the immediate moment, pulling that cloak over your head makes you feel temporarily hidden from judgment.
Sure, it's a relief at first.
But ultimately, you cannot breathe under there. It suffocates your connection to life.
Yeah.
So my question is, if shame feels so utterly agonizing to experience, why is our brain's default reaction to pull the ripcord and take us out of reality?
Well, we disappear because shame is actually trying to save us.
Save us.
Yeah, it is fundamentally a survival strategy. In this therapeutic approach, shame is viewed as a vital signal.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think of it as a warning flare shot into the dark from a part of your nervous system that, a long time ago, learned a very painful lesson.
Which is what?
That if people see the real, unfiltered you, they will reject you, they will mock you, or they will abandon you. And the nervous system catalogs that as a literal threat to survival.
Wow. So it's not a malfunction or a character flaw.
Not at all.
It is an incredibly efficient, albeit outdated, defense system.
Exactly. It's doing its job perfectly based on the data it has.
But if this is a learned survival strategy, we really have to look at where the rules of this strategy actually come from. Because I certainly didn't pop out of the womb believing that my opinions were annoying or that showing emotion was dangerous.
Right, we aren't born with shame. These rules are absorbed.
How does that happen?
Well, there is a foundational concept in Gestalt called an introject.
An interject, okay.
Yeah, an introject is an internalized rule, a belief, or harsh criticism that you swallowed whole from someone else before you really had the critical thinking skills to question it.
Oh, like those classic phrases, don't make waves.
Exactly. Big boys don't cry.
Good girls are quiet.
Don't be so sensitive. All of those. You absorb these messages from your environment, and the thing is, it doesn't even require massive, acute trauma.
Really? You can just be subtle things.
Absolutely. It can be a parent's sharp, impatient glance when you were crying because you scraped your knee.
Or a teacher's heavy sigh when you ask too many enthusiastic questions in class.
Yes. It is the accumulation of years spent absorbing the message, whether it was explicitly stated or completely unspoken, that your needs were too much, your raw emotions were too messy, and your authentic presence was an inconvenience to the adults around you.
Wow. We swallow these voices so completely and so early on that by the time we are adults, we literally mistake them for our own internal monologue.
We think it's us talking.
Yeah. It's like outdated legacy software on a computer.
I love that analogy.
Right. These programs were installed in middle school to help us survive the terrifying hierarchy of the cafeteria.
Which is a war zone.
Total war zone. And the rule was, stay quiet, blend in, don't draw attention, or you will get mocked. That software kept you safe when you were small and dependent.
It did. It served a purpose.
But now, you're sitting in a boardroom at 35 years old, someone asks for your marketing idea, and that middle school legacy software boots up and totally crashes your adult operating system.
It paralyzes you. But again, shame is not trying to destroy your career or your relationship.
It's protecting something.
It is fiercely guarding your deepest, most primal longing to be seen and accepted. And it is doing it using the absolute only method it knows how, which is forcing you into hiding before someone else has the chance to reject you.
It's preemptive abandonment.
Preemptive abandonment, exactly.
But knowing why shame protects us is a huge paradigm shift. I mean, it really changes how I view those moments. But knowing it's a protector doesn't change the fact that it physically and mentally stops us from living fully.
No, it doesn't.
So we need to look at how it actually hijacks our day-to-day lives. In Gestalt theory, there is something called the cycle of experience.
Yes, a very core concept.
If I am understanding this correctly, it means every need we have follows a specific natural path.
That's right.
It starts with sensation, like a physical feeling, say, dry mouth. Then it moves to awareness, where you realize the dry mouth means you are thirsty.
Right. The sensation gains meaning.
Then comes mobilization, gathering your energy to stand up. Then action. You walk to the kitchen and pour water.
And finally,
Contact and resolution. You drink the water, the need is met, and the cycle completes.
spot on. That is the exact mechanism of how we interact with the environment to sustain ourselves physically and emotionally.
Okay, so how does that look for an emotional need?
Well, if you apply that to an emotional need, it looks like this. You feel a sensation of heaviness. You bring awareness to it and realize you feel lonely. You mobilize your courage. You take the action of calling a friend. You make authentic contact. You feel heard. And the loneliness resolves.
That sounds incredibly healthy.
It is, but shame hijacks this entire process right in the middle.
It cuts it off.
It triggers an interruption. The natural life energy that is trying to move outward into expression gets completely frozen.
I was thinking about this mechanism.
Yeah.
And it's like hitting the gas pedal and the emergency brake on your car at the exact same time.
Oh, that's exactly what it feels like in the body.
Right. The engine is roaring. That is your natural biological desire to connect, to speak up, to be seen. But the brakes are completely locked by shame.
You're stuck.
You don't move forward. You just sit there, burning out the engine, flooding your body with cortisol, and wearing down your internal gears.
And the ways we apply that emergency brake are incredibly sneaky.
Give me an example.
Well, one of the primary interruptions is deflection.
Deflection.
Yeah, deflection is when I start feeling that vulnerability and immediately change the subject, or make a self-deprecating joke, or unconsciously pull out my phone to scroll the second the conversation gets too real.
Just sidestepping the feeling entirely.
Exactly. But we also see the complete opposite of deflection, which is egotism.
Egotism, like arrogance.
Yeah. Egotism is an interruption where, instead of shrinking away, a person overcompensates.
Oh, interesting.
Think of the loudest, most arrogant person in the meeting. The person who talks over everyone, constantly centers themselves, and is highly critical of others' ideas.
We all know that person.
Right, it is wildly counterintuitive, but that arrogance is often an intense shame spiral in disguise.
Really? It looks like so much confidence.
I know, but their nervous system is terrified of being exposed as an imposter or being seen as inadequate, so their brain builds a fortress of invulnerability.
So they just steamroll everyone.
Basically, the logic is, if I take up absolutely all the space and project total superiority, no one can get close enough to see the parts of me I am terrified of. They are interrupting genuine contact by replacing it with a performance.
I hear that, and the egotism example makes total sense. But I want to push back on the deflection piece for a moment.
Let's hear it.
Honestly, if I'm exhausted after a brutal meeting and I sit on my couch and scroll on my phone for 20 minutes, is that really a deep-seated shame interruption?
It's a fair question.
Right. I mean, sometimes life is just stressful and a brain break is just a brain break. How do we actually tell the difference between healthy decompression and shame pulling the strings?
The distinction lies entirely in the aftermath of the action, specifically in your capacity for contact.
What do you mean by aftermath?
Well, a genuine brain break replenishes you. If you scroll or watch a show to truly rest, you eventually put the screen down feeling somewhat restored, and you are able to return to the world.
I can actually engage again.
Right. You can look your partner in the eye, you can engage in a conversation, but an interruption driven by shame leaves you feeling hollowed out.
Oh man, I know that feeling.
It is a form of active avoidance. When you put the phone down, the anxiety is still there, often worse. You aren't resting, you are fleeing the terrifying possibility of sitting quietly with yourself. And we know this because of somatic records.
Somatic, meaning relating to the physical body.
Precisely. While your conscious mind is spinning elaborate justifications about why you're totally fine and just, catching up on the news, your body is holding the unspoken physiological truth.
The body keeps the score.
Always. Your shoulders are hunched up by your ears, your stomach is knotted. Your breath has become shallow, trapped entirely in your upper chest.
Just tight and restricted.
Yes. These are learned physical braces against a perceived danger. Your nervous system is locked in a defensive posture, bracing for an emotional impact, regardless of what your mind is trying to tell you.
And that physical bracing bleeds directly into how we interact with the people around us. Because shame doesn't just deceive us about our own internal state. It actively distorts how we view other people through a mechanism called projection.
Yes, projection is huge here.
We essentially project our own internal landscape onto the external world.
We do.
When shame takes hold, we suddenly assume that everyone around us is judging us harshly. But what we are actually seeing is our own vicious internal critic simply wearing their face.
It's like you've painted your insecurity onto them. You assume they are hyper-focused on your flaws because you are hyper-focused on your flaws.
That makes so much sense.
If you feel insecure about your intelligence, you will interpret a colleague's totally neutral glance as proof that they think you are incompetent.
Even if they were just looking at the clock.
Exactly. You have essentially outsourced your own self-judgment. You are no longer reacting to the actual person in front of you. You are reacting to a phantom created by your own shame.
Here's where it gets really interesting. This is where the Gestalt approach offers an incredibly practical tool to break that distortion. It is a concept called phenomenology.
It's a big word, but a simple practice.
Yeah, phenomenology sounds like a dense, unapproachable academic term, but it's actually a grounded, real-time practice.
Very grounded.
It means returning to raw, unfiltered sensory experience before you add any interpretation, story, narrative, or blame to it.
Just the facts of the moment.
Right. It is moving away from the elaborate fiction in your head and grounding yourself strictly in what is factually, physically happening in the present moment.
Let's apply it to that meeting scenario from earlier. The narrative your shame generates is, oh no, the boss is frowning, she thinks my idea is terrible, I'm going to get passed over for the promotion, I am an absolute fraud.
The classic shame spiral.
Exactly. But phenomenology asks you to drop the narrative and report only the observable data.
So what does that sound like?
You shift to, my boss's eyebrows are drawn together, my chest is tight, my heart rate is elevated, I am having a thought that I am a fraud.
I look at phenomenology like turning off the subtitles during a terrifying horror movie.
Oh, I like that.
Right. If the scene is dark and the music is creepy, you feel tense. But if the subtitles explicitly read, vicious killer approaches from behind with a knife, your nervous system goes into absolute panic.
The narrative tells you exactly what to be terrified of.
Yes. By stripping away those subtitles, by dropping the narrative of she thinks I'm incompetent, you are just observing raw sensory data.
The room is still the room.
Exactly. Your chest is still tight.
Yeah.
But you immediately lower the stakes. You stop that runaway, catastrophic panic spiral. You unhook from the story.
And in doing that, you reclaim your agency in the present moment.
It's so empowering.
It is. The tragedy of our modern relationship with shame is not that we feel it. Feeling shame is biologically wired into us as social creatures who need group belonging to survive.
We're wired for connection.
Right. The tragedy is that we have been taught to treat shame as undeniable, hard evidence of our core unworthiness, rather than treating it as a protective doorway pointing us toward an unmet need.
So once we stop the panic spiral, by turning off those subtitles and observing the raw data, what do we actually do with the shame that is still sitting there in our chest?
You can't just stare at it.
No, we can't just coldly observe it forever. The goal of this framework isn't to fix your shame or banish it or conquer it like a villain.
Not at all.
The goal is to finally complete that interrupted cycle of experience we talked about earlier. And the way we do that is through embodiment.
Yes, embodiment.
And I want to be really clear about what embodiment is because we have to distinguish it from spiritual bypassing. We are not talking about toxic positivity here.
No, definitely not.
Spiritual bypassing is when you feel deep emotional pain, but you ignore it by looking in the mirror and forcing yourself to recite positive mantras like, I am a being of pure light and zero negativity, while your stomach is literally in knots.
Which just adds another layer of denial. Embodiment is the exact opposite of that avoidance.
How so?
Embodiment is the direct antidote to the disembodied existential vanishing we started this conversation with. If vanishing is the act of leaving your body to hide in your mind, embodiment is the radical act of returning to your physical form.
Getting back in your own skin.
Exactly. You let your ribs physically expand with a full breath. You feel the actual gravitational weight of your feet pressing into the floorboards. You notice the temperature of the air on your skin. You ground yourself in undeniable physical reality.
You sit with the shame, not as an enemy, but almost like you would sit with a trembling, terrified friend.
That's a beautiful image.
You don't scream at it to leave. You ask it, what are you trying to protect me from right now? Which ultimately leads us to the threshold of contact.
Yes, contact.
This is the dynamic living edge where your true, unfiltered self actually meets the external world. But choosing contact over concealment is a massive leap.
It's huge.
It sounds poetic to say show your true self, but being vulnerable is genuinely terrifying.
Yeah.
It can lead to real, actual rejection. People might not like the authentic you.
They might not.
If that is a real possibility, why is risking the very pain that shame is desperately trying to protect us from actually worth it?
It is worth it because we have to look honestly at what you lose if you refuse to take that risk.
What do we lose?
There is a quiet, suffocating death of possibility in choosing to stay hidden. Yes, vulnerability guarantees that you might be misunderstood. You might face disagreement. You might get hurt again.
Those are real risks.
They are. But the deep paradox of human connection is that the more you risk being seen in your absolute, messy, unfiltered imperfection, the more you invite genuine contact.
Because it's real.
Exactly. When you hide behind a polished, perfect facade, the best you can hope for is that people love the mask you are wearing. But they aren't loving you. Genuine contact is rooted in mutual humanity, in the shared recognition that we are all figuring it out as we go.
It is the profound difference between being accepted for a performance versus being truly loved for the face underneath the mask.
Precisely.
And stepping into that genuine contact requires what this framework calls responsibility. Notice the hyphen there. Not responsibility in the traditional sense of taking the blame for something or carrying a heavy burden.
No, it's very different.
It means cultivating the actual ability to respond to your own internal experience with honesty, compassion, and care.
It is the ultimate act of reparenting yourself.
Reparenting, I love that.
It is visualizing that younger version of you. The child who absorbed those harsh interjects, the child who learned that it was safer to stay quiet and disappear, and speaking directly to their nervous system.
What do you say to them?
You say, I understand why you learned to hide. It made sense back then, but you don't have to hide anymore. You are safe with me now. I am strong enough to handle whatever happens next.
I will no longer abandon myself to feel safe.
That's the core of it right there.
That concept shifts the ground beneath your feet. You stop relying on the external world to validate you, and you finally provide that unshakable validation to yourself. You teach your nervous system a completely new, updated truth to replace that legacy software.
And when you do that, you move from the solitary confinement of avoidance into the rich, unpredictable reality of genuine human connection.
So let's bring all of this together. We started by realizing that the tightening in your throat and the urge to disappear isn't a fundamental flaw in your character.
It's not a broken part of you.
Right. It is a fiercely loyal, albeit deeply misguided protector. It learned long ago that the real you was in danger, so it built an invisible fortress.
To keep you safe.
Exactly. But by shifting our reaction away from the heavy guilt of I am wrong and moving toward pure phenomenological awareness, noticing the tight chest, recognizing the urge to deflect, observing the physical bracing without judging it, we can actually step through the threshold of shame.
So the next time you feel that hot flush creeping up your neck, the objective changes entirely.
What's the new goal?
Your goal is no longer to banish the feeling. Your goal is not to force it away or out-argue it or overcompensate with loud egotism. Your goal is simply to notice it.
Just notice it.
Place a physical hand on your chest. Feel the solid ground beneath your feet. Stay present in your body. You are not vanishing anymore. You are choosing to stay.
And as you practice that returning, a profound shift begins to happen. You stop fighting a war against your own nervous system. You start listening to the deep, fundamental longing that exists just beneath the shame. The longing to be truly seen, to be held, and to be accepted exactly as you are, without the armor.
It is not about reaching a state of enlightenment where you have all the answers and never feel insecure again. That's just not realistic.
We're all human.
It is simply about being willing to stay present with whatever arises without abandoning yourself in the process.
We want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to mull over long after this deep dive ends. It is a question that completely reorients how we look at our own inner lives.
It's a big question.
It really is. If shame was never actually the enemy, if it was just a heavy protective lid meant to keep your most vulnerable parts safe, what else have you been running from?
What's underneath the lid?
Because once you stop fearing the protector, you might discover an entire expansive landscape of unlived life waiting beneath it. There might be unmourned grief that finally needs to be released.
There might be swallowed, righteous anger that needs to be given a voice.
Or there might be a massive reserve of suppressed, wild, unfiltered joy, just waiting there, finally feeling safe enough to be felt.
The protector did its job. It kept those parts of you alive until you were ready to feel them.
So tomorrow, or next week, when you're sitting in that meeting and you know the answer and your throat starts to tighten, take a breath.
Feel your feet on the floor.
Notice the protector trying to pull the invisibility cloak over you. Thank it for trying to keep you safe.
Oh,
And then,
nice speech.
anyway,